Alan, how does Hollowbrook Wealth Management adjust their asset allocations in the current time period to deal with all the volatility we keep hearing about?
Well, it's true. This environment's volatile. However, and the theme of the moment is uncertainty. However, we have not meaningfully adjusted asset allocation today. Our portfolios came into the year reflecting that we viewed there was a negative asymmetry in markets. It's come to fruition in terms of uncertainty out there. Yet, markets are at highs, spreads are tight, and there's still interesting things to do because of long-term change that is upon us, driven by both the change in the interest rate regime as well as government policy. Things like energy transition, productivity gains through AI, et cetera.
And Hollowbrook is evolving into more of a family office, if you will. So what does it take to make that change? What is generational wealth asking of you and Hollowbrook?
Really interesting. Thank you for asking that question, because it's the manifestation of what we've done since the beginning of acting in a full service nature for our clients. As we've driven this family office service practice, clients have come to realize that that's the way to get the best outcome beyond just investment management, because you get a holistic view and you can serve the client with just both core services of bill pay, tax support, et cetera, financial statement creation, but also helping them think through some of the other things going on in their life. If they're buying a private business, where to source that capital from, a tax analysis related to those things, related to even trade war, if assets are coming from Europe, when to purchase them, how to purchase them, et cetera.
And how does Hollowbrook set its services apart? So for example, if you're just a money manager, you can say, hey, these are my returns, and those are their returns, so you can compare the returns. But what about when it comes to the services you're providing? How do you make sure that yours are better than the next providers?
We try and approach it with humility. However, we define ourselves in always thinking about how we make the client feel. There is that famous story from 11 Madison Park, that restaurant where the guy heard about the hot dog walking by the table, that the client didn't get it. He ran out to get the hot dog and he served it to the client. We always tell that story to new employees and try and always keep that in the back of mind of how we make the client feel, so they think of Hollowbrook as an extension of their life.
And when you talk about a family office, you're talking about generational wealth. So how do you make sure you're connecting with the next generation?
I've recently learned that the next generation doesn't want to be referred to as the next gen. They want to be thought of individualistically. They want their portfolios to represent their values, and they're willing to take the time to do the research to understand that their values are being reflected in there. And so spending time with those other members of the family as individuals, as inheritors of wealth, is a key component of serving the client.
And then finally, at the top of the segment, we were talking about what's going on in the public markets. I want to talk about what's going on in alternatives, because when it comes to a family office, along with college endowments, generally there's a lot of private market assets or alternatives, held in those particular portfolios. So what's your outlook for private market assets going forward?
At Hollowbrook, we've been using private market assets in portfolios, generational portfolios, since our inception. There's been the democratization, as they say, of alternatives, which is where they're being used on platforms and being driven down to access to smaller bite sizes, so to speak. We're skeptical right now. We're watching how that plays out. At the end of the day, you have to understand how the return is derived and that it's applicable for a client's plan, understanding liquidity and the prudent diversification that goes into that.
All right, well, thanks for coming on and talking about it.
Appreciate it, Greg. Thank you.